All right. Okay. Well, let's get started. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope everybody's week is off to a good start. Let's get started with Eric on backend.
Yeah, happy Monday, everyone. So obviously, the major news is the Element announcing the fork. Do go and read the blog posts, please. I won't talk it through now, but that is what's been happening in our land, basically. Otherwise, the Synapse release for 1.96, we did the RC a couple of weeks ago. We are still just finalising the release, so that will happen. It was meant to happen last week, but Pinky promised that it will happen this week, hopefully. But nothing much has changed in that RC, so go and have a look at last week's notes if you want to learn more. Yeah, coming week, basically more of the same. And yeah, that's backend.
If I can chip in one thing on the Synapse repatriation exercise, we're still figuring out the final details of what GitHub and packaging choreography needs to happen, and we're also working on the wording of the CLA for it. And I've got a call with the lawyers on it, I thought today or possibly tomorrow, to try to incorporate all the feedback that we've had. So in the unlikely event that anybody who doesn't work at Element is actually on the call and listening to this, then apart from Josh, then be aware that we are making progress. We were hoping to get this done last week, but there was so much feedback on it that we wanted to incorporate that we'd rather not rush it and screw it up.
Thank you, Matthew. And thank you, Eric. Devin, account portability in Dendrite.
It's not Devin, it's me. Basically, last week we were working on Sliding Sync. There was a bug fix release and some crypto ID work, docs, tests, bug fixes, and the like. This week is basically more of the same for Sliding Sync and crypto IDs, along with a little bit of work on Complement. There's some Complement crypto tests being done, specifically targeting the Rust SDK, which I'm currently working on. And that's about it.
Thank you. And it does help if I'm looking at the right week's sync notes. So sorry about that, Keegan. Thank you. Next up, Travis on the spec.
Yeah, giving Andrew a sort of 1 week break here. There's a few MSCs there that may be of interest to people. Feel free to read them. On the spec core team, we'll be talking a little bit more about what the Shepherd team's stuff means for us in the sort of upcoming retro that we have. I believe that's in a couple weeks, just to kind of keep folks external to Element aware of the sort of timings there. And then there's a fairly lengthy post in the spec update section there covering the IETF 118 and sort of MIME or more instant messaging interoperability working group from the IETF. The punchline there is me and Matthew just spent a few days in Prague talking with the working group, covering the design team's work over the last few months, and things seem to be going vaguely in the correct direction. The protocol draft is based off of linearized matrix, if you look closely enough at least, and the sort of MLS components are separated out. So we'll be working on some of the double ratchet side of things as part of the on-ramp, so keep an eye on that. And there are 4 documents there if you feel like reading them, and I'm sure there is a live stream link if you would prefer to observe the proceedings in a 2-hour YouTube format. That's the sort of rough update there.
Excellent. Thank you, Travis. Next up, Florian on VoIP.
Yeah, thanks. So on the Element X front, the nightlies as of last week include Element's call support as the weeks before, but this time we also have a specific configuration option where you can point the Element call widget, which should be used, which also helps a lot on the development front. And we tested, as of last week, the individual and rotating sender keys, which are really working very nicely. That's good news here. On the challenges side, we have a regression with the latest element call release, which is the 5.10. We rolled back our live environment to 0.9. Investigation is in progress. I expect that we find the root cause soon, TM, and will then roll out a 0.11 this week. On the regular development progress, Dave is currently working on retaining the screen share state in the case of focus switching, and the remaining part is working on his historic call data, which will also be part of the Rust SDK and the JS SDK, or the widget SDK at least. That's it.
Thank you, Florian. Next up, is this Johnny with Rich Text Editor?
Hello. So yeah, last week, not too much changed. We have added the ability to click a mention on Android. And yeah, this week, nothing specific planned, but we're going to continue supporting the mentions work and integrating into Element X Android.
Excellent, thank you. Andy on Element Web and Desktop.
Hello. Yeah, we've been working really hard on stuck notifications. We had a step forward and a step back this week. We had to roll back a change that was just about to be released because it caused a bug. That was to do with deleted messages needing to move into the main thread. That was the cause of some of our stuck notifications. We've got a fix for that, but we're being really cautious about re-adding that to the main line that will go in this week. Because it's a bit disruptive moving messages from one timeline to another. It's surprising to other parts of our code. Meanwhile, we also put in a fix that ignores receipts that we can't identify the event for, and that has fixed some real live stuck notification problems, and that will be going out in the next release. So good news there. We've slowed our progress on the room header and details user experience work, because the makeup of our team has changed, but that will still continue. We were nearly there with the OIDC implementation, but we found a bug, so we had to slow down a little bit on that, but we're continuing to work on that. We've also been automating our release process, and that's going really well. And our next release should be much more automatic than previous ones, so a lot less manual work, fewer mistakes, less time wasted. We've also been fighting with our CI this week. Cypress changed the rules around which versions you can use with their cloud service. So we're working hard on fixing that. That's it from us.
Thank you, Andy. Mauro with Element iOS.
Yeah, so pretty much we just fixed a bug that prevented the Jitsi session from being closed when the widget was removed from the specific room. It was not closing both for the user that was removing the widget, but also for all the other users that were currently in the session. So now we intercept that event and close the Jitsi session as it should be.
Excellent, thank you, Mauro. Element Android with Benoit.
Yes, morning. Just not to mention that the legacy Kotlin crypto code has been removed. I guess Valia will mention it in the crypto section. So, yeah. That's all for Elementary. And I can continue with Element X, I guess. So the version 0.3.1 has been pushed to the open testing and is now live on the Play Store, even in production. So this version is mainly containing bug fixing, and in the meantime we are doing some cleanup on the code base and fixing the existing features, and we are also taking time to improve the developer experience and to add tests as well. And yes, we are working on Mention, as Johnny said, on the rich text editor part and also on the UI side, so in the app side. That's all for us. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Benoit. Let's complete this Android sandwich with Element X iOS. Again with Maro, thank you.
Yeah, so the work with intentional mentions and mentions on iOS is pretty much almost done. Notifications also now are aware of the mentions that they contain, and they will actually add an additional copy. Essentially, they will tell you you've been mentioned when you receive a notification that contains one. Also, we are working on supporting the mentions only notification case if the home servers support the MSC 4028. Link is in the document if you want to know more about it. Then we also made some refactors that are made to essentially improve the overall readability and architecture of the code, and fix some bugs in the app lock screen. There were essentially some small UI tweaks that we needed to do to improve the user experience for the app lock. Also, we added the voiceover support for some of the interactive messages that we use in the app, like voice recording and polls. Since they require some user interactions, we decided to add some voiceover hints about them. And then we started working on the phase 2 of polls to pretty much better improve their UX and also add new features like editing and history. Also, we did some other improvements to voice recording alongside the possibility of locking the recording. So you don't need to hold anymore the recording button for all the duration of your recording. You can actually also now transition in a state where you just lock the recording. You can speak freely without having your thumb to be continually pressed on the recording button. And the best news of all of this is that 1.4.1 is out on the store. So yeah, be sure to check it out.
Excellent, thank you. Next up, QA with Michael.
Hi, so not much to report this week. Test coverage seems to be stable as always. We were having some problems last week with Kiwi, our test case management system. We think it's all gone away. Let me know if you see a HTTP 502 from them, but that should be fixed. Other than that, no other news from us.
Thank you, Michael. Anything from the Rust folks working on the Rust SDK? Okay. Moving along to encryption. Whoever wants to take this one.
Hello, yeah, it's me. So on encryption, we are still working on WebR. So we've done some triaging and investigation on issues. So I linked a list of the blockers to deliver on app.element. We are also working on send performances. Still progress on MLS for the Rust CryptoCrate. We are also updating the backup MSC to explain a bit how we will migrate to the new safer backup. And as Benoit mentioned, we are doing some long due maintenance on Element Android. So we removed all the legacy code, which is about 23,000 of 23K lines of code. Yeah, and to follow on that would be an upgrade of the CryptoCrate because Element Android R was a bit behind compared to iOS. And yeah, that's it for crypto.
Excellent, thank you. Next up, Bridges, half shot. Looks like perhaps just the written up for today. Okay. All right. All right. Hugh. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Now your software unmuted, but I still can't hear you.
Sorry.
Now-
In identity and auth land, mostly been working on upstream OIDC provider support or improving it, including mapping of user profile or ID token claims to user profiles, and some other refactoring for things like deduplication and adding options for reconciling upstream identities with local users. So there's more of that coming up this week as well. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Hugh. And it looks like, Andrew, did I skip over you with Bridges? Is anybody else not getting his audio? Else?
I cannot hear him.
Okay. I see you're unmuted, Andrew. You're unmuted, Andrea. Apologies. Okay.
Pull that signs.
All right. Moving merrily along. Tib, advocacy. Excellent. Thank you, Tib. And note to self, seeing as I'm usually starting my days when we have these meetings, I should write my updates on Friday so I can give you all a little more detail. But for last week, it really was dominated by community engagement and figuring out logistics around the forks. Had some great meetings with current and prospective members. Some exciting admin and so actually truly exciting work on fundraising and road mapping. So this week, doing more planning and preparation around events. Not spending a whole lot of time on that, but knowing that I don't want to start the next year surprised that we haven't worked on that yet. Getting involved there. Following with some partner organizations or organizations we want to be partnered with. More admin. More interestingly, drafting proposed revisions to the governing board's terms of reference. A reminder, the governing board is the body that we have not yet seated. Call that a sister body to the spec core team, the governing board being the one that gives the ecosystem representation and governance of the foundation. So just no radical changes to how that's going to work. Just spotted some minor revisions that needed to be made. Also looking to get out a blog post this week about the governing board and the elections, really trying to manage the overall mood in the ecosystem right now with some challenging news around the forks. I want to make sure people have something to look forward to. And so want to highlight the way that we're making Matrix more community governed in the months ahead. And no doubt this week is going to continue to have work around the forks. Just one observation I want to make is that, of course, this forking situation is challenging, but it is shaking out somewhat as expected, at least from where I sit. And I am finding some bright spots in that people are beginning to better understand the role of the foundation. And it's definitely serving as a wake-up call that there's a need to support the foundation as well. So those are wins that I will gladly accept out of this situation. And I think that's all we've got for today. Thank you all very much. Have a great rest of your day and a great week.
See you.
Thanks, folks.